sorry for looking so uneventful and probably dead, but that is because I am. I am sick, and I have been sick for so long, and everything hurts. That's one of the reasons why I haven't been uploading much, because, like, first of all, I've been busy, but second of all, I've been such a healthy person my entire life, and, like, those past years just been killing me, so I apologize deeply and sincerely for not uploading anything, and just hope to God that you guys don't hate me. Yes, and since we're talking about God, let us take a moment to thank him for the beauty that is the meme made out of the song Disc Corrosion, because it is absolute fucking gold. Yes, I love it. Also, I wonder how come the song is out. The song has been out for like a couple of decades now, I think, and it's just now become a meme. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Sisters of Mercy are beautiful. So, let's get to the point. Give me a sec. Okay, I get my phone here. I get everything I need. So, I wanna do my favorite books that I've read last year. So, quick book review, like of my reading habits and stuff. Also, sorry for like changing up where I'm filming. It's just that I'm so dead. Please, just forgive me, okay? So yes. So last year I've read 41 books. This year I have a goal of reading 42. Maybe I'll reach it. We shall see. The longest book I've read was 650 pages. The shortest 121. If you have a Goodreads account, they make these like yearly things, like how many books did you read, which ones you liked the most, and everything. Very cool thing. Generally, if you like reading, I suggest Goodreads. Good place. So I'm gonna quickly get into the books, tell you which books I've read that I've liked the 6 top that I've liked the most. Tell you a little bit about them, and if any of you are interested more in the book, one of the books that I talk about, let me know in the comments below, and I'll make a longer review of it. Corset by Laura Parcell, who has in a very short time span become one of my favorite authors. I think that before she wrote like romantic historical books, I don't know, but this is her second. Right now she's at 3, but this is her second gothic novel. So she's written 3. All of them are absolutely amazing. This one is the best in my opinion. It's a bloody masterpiece, and the general gist of it is that there are 2 women living in the Victorian era. One is an aristocrat and a spoiled brat, and I'm not really gonna get into that much, but the second one that the story focuses more about is a girl who, due to some unfortunate situations, is forced to live in terrible conditions, being treated terribly by her master, I don't know how else to call it, and she thinks, I'm not gonna say if it's true or not, because if you ever want to read this book, I want you all to decide for yourself, but she thinks that she has the gift to, because she sews clothes, especially corsets, that's why the corset, she thinks she has the gift to sew her emotions into a corset. So for instance, if she's thinking of killing someone when she's sewing, those feelings are going into the clothing, and if someone puts the clothing off, they for instance die, you know, stuff like that. So she thinks she has that ability. Now I'm not going to tell you too much, because if you decide to read this book, I want you guys to decide for yourself. It's one of the best books I've ever written. It's got nearly 400 pages, I think, but I read it in 2 days, because it was so interesting. It was such a page turner. I have absolutely nothing bad to say about this book. There were a few grotesque, cruel scenes, but what I really like about Laura Parcell is that, unlike a lot of people who write horror these days, she doesn't put in gore and cruelty just for the sake of it. If there is gore and cruelty in the book, it actually serves a purpose and it has to be there, which is what I enjoy, because I don't enjoy gore just for the sake of gore, unless it's like, you know, one of those old slashers like Chucky or Freddy Krueger, but you know, they're also dark comedies and they're fucking hilarious, honestly. However, normal horror, I do not enjoy that at all, and that's why I'm grateful for her to, first of all, put not a lot of gore in her books, but also if she puts it in there, it really has to be there. Also, what is really interesting, something I've learned by the end of this book, is that this book is actually, well, maybe not based, but inspired by a true story, by something that really happened, and that made the book so much better to me, and just so much more, it made me so much more emotionally connected with the book. I don't know how else to explain it. So I've got the Aquaman symbol on my shirt today. I'm sick. Please don't judge me for not looking good enough, please. 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton, and this is his first ever book, I think. It came out last year, and this is like 500 pages. The general gist of this book is that a guy wakes up, has no fucking clue what's going on, who he is, doesn't remember, and he is told that he will go through this day 7 times, and every single time is going to be a different body, and every single time he's going to have to decide who murders Evelyn Hardcastle. I don't want to say too much other than that about this book either, because it's also a huge page turner, and also I feel like if I say anything more, there's so many twists and turns, there's so many plot twists that I really can't say too much without giving some cool things away. So that's all I'm gonna say about this. But it's also extremely well written. I cannot wait for his other books to come out. So I don't know, I think his second book is coming out somewhere this year, I may be wrong. But I am extremely happy I read this. Can't wait to read his other books. It was extremely entertaining. I also read it very, very quickly because I couldn't stop reading. It was so good, so well written. The characters were amazing. I also have basically nothing bad to say about this book. The ending was maybe just a teensy-weensy bit disappointing. Not a lot. I still enjoyed it, but I think it could have been better, just a little bit. So maybe that's it, but I also didn't have a lot of bad things to say about this book. Extremely awesome, absolutely love it. Yes. Memory Man by David Baldacci, and oh boy, okay, so I didn't start reading this series from the first book. I actually started reading it from the second book, The Last Mile, because I got it from a friend for my birthday, and I didn't know that it was the second book. This keeps on happening to me. But after I've read that one, I decided to buy the first one because I liked the first one, the second one so much. So I bought the first one and I thought, okay, it can't possibly be better than the second one because the second one was so good. Well, I was wrong, okay? This book is amazing. Also, very little things that I can say that were actually bad. So this book is about a guy called Amos Decker. He used to be a police officer, but, and this is not a spoiler alert because literally the book starts off with this, his entire family gets murdered, leaving him just a wreck of a man, and he cannot cope with anything until a year or 2 years later there's a shooting and a lot of kids die in a school. So, and he decides to come back and solve the murder, especially since it turns out it's connected to his own family's murder. But this book is just so amazing. Also, so many plot twists, so many turns. I don't think I've seen most of them coming, honestly. And there's one thing I have to say that is, first of all, trigger warning. So if you don't want a spoiler alert, I'm gonna give you a stamp. Because there may be a little bit of spoiler now because of the trigger that I'm gonna put in, but there is mention of sexual abuse and rape in this book, which for me, I didn't know this when I started reading, but okay, so there's a very limited amount of things that trigger me. And when I say trigger, I actually mean the word trigger, not an, oh my god, I'm triggered, you won't validate my opinions. No, I mean trigger as in I actually get physical reactions and I feel bad and just mentally triggering. There are 3 topics that really trigger me. And one of those topics is rape. I cannot deal with rape, I cannot read about rape, I cannot watch rape. It's a big, huge ass no-no. But in this book, the way he handles the rape, thankfully the rape happened in the past, so it's not happening now, which kind of makes it easier to read about for me. But the way he described the whole situation didn't trigger me, and I think that is that is extremely, this proves that this book is extremely well written, because this is a topic where oftentimes I just hear something connected to this topic and I just already get like tingly and nauseous and stuff. And in this book, I read about it. Thankfully, it's not the entire plot, so if this triggers you but you still want to read it, you can totally skip it. So it's not the biggest plot point, but it does happen, and for me, it didn't trigger me, which, it's like I said, it's extremely amazing, because this is a topic that triggers me a lot. So I just want to give you like a heads up if you want to read it, but also to say that I'm kind of in awe that I didn't fucking die while reading this. But extremely good book, extremely good series. I am right now reading the third part of this book, so I can let you guys know what I think about it when I'm done. Next book also has to do a bit with rape, but the book starts with rape, so trigger warning there again. The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. So this tells the story of a girl who gets raped and murdered and watches over her family from heaven. And it's not really as much of a crime novel, it's just how she deals with her emotions of what happened and how her family and friends deal with her death. Now, I skipped the rape scene. From what I know, because it's like the first chapter, from what I know, the rape scene is not described. Her feelings are described, so like she felt like she was drowning in mud and stuff, but it's not described as in, you know, the action isn't actually described, so that is a big plus, for me at least. Even though it's not described from what I gather, I still skipped it. It's very easy to skip, so if you want to read this book but rape triggers you as well, you don't have to read it. You can easily skip it, because you can see when it slowly begins to start and just skip the entire rest of the chapter. I don't usually like books like this, because I usually read either fantasy or crime novels, something that's a huge page turner. This book was not it. It was not a page turner. It was not a crime novel by any shot, and I wouldn't call it fantasy either, because yeah, she's dead, she's in heaven sort of, but not really fantasy in my opinion. But just the way the author writes about like everything that's going on after the main character dies, her name is Susie Salmon, and just generally the way the entire book is written, I just couldn't help but love it. Even though it's something totally not my style, I couldn't help but love this book. It has a positive, beautiful ending. The storylines are just so beautiful, and some of them are so heartwarming that even though the book starts off on a terrible, terrible note, and a few other terrible things go on in the book as well, nothing as drastic as the beginning, of course, then it doesn't change the fact that like some of the things are so heartwarming that it just makes you feel better, you know, like I don't know how else to describe it, but it's just beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I've read a very small amount of books that I can actually call beautiful, but this is one of them. I don't think it's for everyone, but it's absolutely beautiful, and if this is something that interests you, I highly recommend you give it a shot. The fifth book is called The Seance by John Howard, and the reason why I absolutely love this book, because it's your typical gothic thriller, Victorian gothic novel, I don't know. It wasn't actually written in the Victorian period, I think it was written like 20 years ago, but it's your typical Victorian gothic novel. So you have a Victorian lady who is interested in ghosts, and there's like seance-y stuff going on and shit, and ghosts, and yeah, it's creepy. But it went a whole different way than any other Victorian Gothic book that I've ever read, and that's like the first thing that just really got me excited about this book, that it turned out so different from all the others I've read, and I've read a lot. The second thing is that it's not actually as creepy. To be honest, throughout this entire book, it's like 270 pages. There was only one moment when I was actually scared, and I don't like I can be scared during a book, but I much rather prefer being spooked or creeped out than scared, because it makes me enjoy the plot more. So I'm sorry, my camera died. I have no idea where I finished off, but I think I wanted to say, maybe wrong, but I think I wanted to say that this book is just the most amazing plot twist, and I fucking loved it. Yes, it's a very slow burner, I gotta let you know. So if you guys don't like books that, you know, you gotta read and read to get into, and they're not a page turner from like page 1 or 2, then maybe this won't be for you, because this book has around 280 pages. and the book starts actually getting somewhere around page 90, like it starts getting more interesting. But in my opinion, it's definitely worth getting through those first boring 90 pages to get to the rest of the book, because it's really well written. I loved it, okay guys, I don't know what else to say. It's actually a series. My favorite book, if I had to choose, would be the first one, but I don't have the first one because I lent it to someone and they still haven't given it back. I'm going to show the second book, but talk about the first one and a little bit of the series in general, but mostly the first one. So this is Lemony Snicket series, All the Wrong Questions. I love this idea because it's 4 books, and every single book has a title of a different question that the author asked wrong in the book, and I like this idea. It's so simple. It's so cool. So the second part is called When Did You See Her Last? The first book is called Who Could It Be at This Hour? Third one is called Shouldn't You Be in School? And the last one is called, I think, Why Is This Night So Different from Any Other Nights? Yes, so generally, if you've ever read a series of unfortunate events, you already know where this is going. Lemony Snicket is the so-called author of the series of unfortunate events, and this, because he's not really a character in the series of unfortunate events. Sorry, asthma. Okay. He's just the narrator, and he talks about the characters that he knows, but he's not really in the book. This book, however, this series focuses solely on Lemony Snicket and actually on his teenage years, his kind of childhood, I don't know, when he's 13 years old, working for the secret organization. Spoiler alert if you haven't read the series of unfortunate events, because yeah, they just don't watch the review of this book because it may be a little bit spoilery. And he's working for the organization VFD. And with his chaperone, he has to go to a town called Stained by the Sea. The reason why I love this, it's like a series of unfortunate events, only less depressing and more everything that the series is. Just more everything. More book references, more, imagination, because he has this way of describing things and just, creating the world. It's very specific and it's very unique, and it's very hard for me to explain exactly what it is. You would have to read at least one book to know what I'm talking about. But there's so much more of this in this series, and I just loved it. Not to mention, I really like when the world is well created. I can read a book that has close to zero plot and it's just lore, because I could totally read that because I just love lore. There is a plot here, but the lore here is so immense and beautiful, and I love it. This is one of my favorite series, and I am so not regretting that tattoo I got 3 years ago of the series. Not at all. 100% good choice. Bloody love this shit. There's also not a lot that I can say about this book without spoiling, because the books are very short. So this one has 280 pages, but when you look at the size of the letters and the amount of them on a page, you'll understand that those 270 pages, like if they were in this book, for instance, you see, it would probably be half, so it would probably be around 150 pages of a normal book. The letters are big, there's not a lot of them on a page, it's kind of stylized to be a children's book, and I think it was supposed to be a children's book, but it's absolutely enjoyable for adults as well, because I am an adult, if you can't tell. A lot of people think I'm a child still, they think I'm 13. That is sad. Never mind. But yeah, so it's just so good. Okay, it's so well written. There's not a lot of going around when it comes to the plot. It's basically the same plot in every single book. Those books are much more like chapters of one bigger book than actual parts of a bigger book. Because if you put all the books together and you minimalize the letters and everything, and there's also pictures in these books, so if you did all that, you'd probably get a normal book with 400 pages or something. So I'd rather say that those are chapters, long chapters of one book. but it's also extremely well written, and even though it doesn't have a lot going for it when like plot wise, the lore is beautiful, the language is beautiful, the references to other books are bloody hilarious. So if you read a lot like I do, at least from my perspective, I read a lot. I know there are people who read 300 books a year, but I can't do that. I have 5 jobs, I have university, I work at the lab as like an internship, but that's like full time. And I also have a boyfriend that I have to, you know, try and have a normal relationship with. And I also have a family that I should try and have a normal relationship with. I don't have time for friends. That's so miserable. I'm such a lonely person. Never mind. So I don't have time to read 300 books a year. But from my perspective, I read enough books. 40 books a year, I think, is good. It's a lot of books. So especially if you read a lot of books and you like some classics as I do, because there are some books that are classical books that I really enjoy too, then you'll really enjoy all the, you know, classical book puns and references. They're really good, they're funny, they're great. So also, huge recommendation. So if any of those books would interest you guys, what's that blue thing in the background? Oh, or maybe, oh my camera, please don't tell me the camera's breaking. Oh, no, I think it may be shizzles. Okay, I'm sorry. If any of those books interested you in any way, let me know. I can do a full-on review of the book, say the good sides, the bad sides, what I liked, what I disliked, a little bit more about the book and its background, all those things, if you like, of course. If not, I suggest you give them a shot if any of these books are something you might like, because they are very, very good books. They are my top 6 of last year for a reason. Although I'm not a particularly picky person when it comes to the books. I mean, I'm particularly picky when it comes to choosing the books I read. So once I read them, I'm not particularly picky. So I hope you enjoyed this review. I'm gonna try and upload a bit more regularly than once every few months. Please forgive me. Please. And please forgive me for looking like a drug addict who hasn't washed in a few weeks. I actually washed this morning. So please don't judge me. I'm just dead, okay? Please. Thank you. Send Andrew Eldritch memes to save a goth life. And I hope to see you next time. Hopefully next week. I don't know. I'm just... I hope so. Yes. Let me know what you want to see on this channel too. I always enjoy you guys in the comments. So